And so from price of petrol, another thing that is just as critical for the economy is the minimum wage. But how far has implementation gone? Has it even started in some states? And of course, with regards to that, the NLC put out a statement yesterday giving state governors a December 1st deadline for the implementation of the minimum wage. Now let's see a spreadsheet of which states have agreed on payment of a certain figure from 70,000 naira and above, I believe, and states that are yet to agree. For some states, we do not know what exactly is happening in their space, but this is what it looks like now for states that have agreed to pay from 70,000 naira and above. Please also be mindful that some states that have even agreed have deferred implementation from November, and some started in October. And so joining us to have a conversation, perhaps an update on what is going into discussions with state governments, is the state NLC chairman for Kano State, Mr. Kabiru Inuwa. And we're also expected to be joined by Mr. Ogbonnaya Okoro, the state NLC chairman for Abia State. Of course, Mr. Okoro has also joined us. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Mr. Okoro, State NLC Chairman for Abia. Amid the negotiations, there were reports that NLC in the state rejected a proposal of 70,000 naira minimum wage. Give us clarity on what has been agreed upon, and if it hasn't been agreed upon, what exactly is going on? Mr. Okoro, are you there? Please unmute your audio. Okay, let's go to Kano State. Mr. Inuwa, let's have updates on the agreed figure for payment for minimum wage and when it will take effect.
In God's glory, we have signed agreement, and payment will commence November this year. We have agreed on the payment of 71,000 naira as minimum wage, and all other salary templates were made according to the salary structures. We have agreed and consented to the payment of the salary in this November, God's willing. We did not take much time, and we did not have problem due to the fact that before we come to table, government constituted an advisory committee to come up with advices on how to implement the minimum wage. While labor equally have its own committee, we worked tirelessly for a month. The government side committee worked for almost 30-something days. Within 2 days, we sat and we agreed that 71,000 naira is the minimum wage for Kano State. We have the belief that we had wanted it to be 75 in Kano. But looking at the number of workforce in the state, we have to allow it to be 71 based on the factual evidences shown to us by the government side. It is evident that payment of salaries in Kano is always as at when due. We had never witnessed any month that workers in Kano State were not paid their salaries. And pensions were paid as at when due. So for that reason, we agreed that the government in Kano mean well to the workers, and we agreed to take 71,000. The 71,000 we took, we cannot compare it with the federal government structure, because the federal government structure as it was given is 77,000. From the table we were able to see. And it is only when you give up to 75,000 that workers will go home with 70,000 naira because of the tax, the pay, all other mandatory deductions that are contained in the salary tables. We sincerely appreciate the way and manner we have a seamless discussions and negotiations with the government side. We sincerely appreciate the steadfastness of the workers, because it is not easy for you to hear that so-so state have started implementing while in your state nothing is done. So we sincerely appreciate their steadfastness and assures them that already payment vouchers are in process. We are commencing, we will start receiving this minimum wage, God's willing, this November. And definitely our workers here in Kano, I am sure, must be happy with the way and manner the tables were made. We have to bear in mind that it is not only the payment of minimum wage that will bring succor to the sufferings of the workers. Many state governments believe that given palliatives and other measures like reducing the work days is a solution. I don't believe in reduction of the work days, because
all right,
for
Mr.
any worker
if I may,
to go
just a moment, Mr. Inoa, just a moment. We're going to get to other details of maybe further expectation, but I'm curious to know why and how the labor unions and the government came to the amount of 71,000. Or people may suspect that Kano is a big state, perhaps thinking Kano has a lot of money. So maybe you tell us whether Kano is that rich or it's not as rich, or it's just a population size. How did you come to that? What were the facts that were presented to you that initially you would have wanted more, perhaps, but now with the facts presented to you, you said, okay, 71 is fine. Is it perhaps because the commitment they've made in the past to say, we've constantly paid, we won't continue to pay, and this is what we can afford? So what were the facts presented to you? That's the very first question I want to find out from you.
Thank you very much, sir. The facts presented before us is our revenue generation. The revenue generation in the state, we can say, is somehow very poor. Secondly, the number of the workforce. We have almost 190,000 workers in Kano State. And if you look at the population, the number of local governments, at least we need more. Because on education sector alone, after tomorrow there are wards or villages without secondary school. Their children have to travel 10-5 kilometers before they go to school. And in some schools, you will find that there are no enough teachers. Secondly, part of the fact is the revenue itself. The revenue allocation. What is allocated to the state? Whatever a state government is getting before and what it is getting now, you will come to realize that the value is not up to 25%. Why? Because whatever project the government is going to do is ×5. And that is why we sincerely believe that with the facts given to us, the number of workforce, and we are guilty for one thing. In May 2023, the state governor made a declaration that workers employed between February and 28th May 2023 shall be removed from the payroll. We struggled, approached the government, and give our facts that these people are supposed to be employed. They are indigents of the state. The work they were employed to do, we need them. A lot of facts we gave. Government put a committee, and 12,000 out of 13,000 were considered to come back to the office.
So, Mr. Inuwa, despite those facts that have been presented before you, would you say that the state Congress was boxed into a corner without having any choice to insist on what is more realistic for Nigerian workers? Because you said earlier that you would have preferred 75,000 naira, and you know, if we went by anything that my colleague Jeffrey said, some consider Kano a big state that should be able to pay even above 75,000 naira. So do you think that Labour was, you know, Labour's expression was stifled amid these negotiations?
Well, the negotiations were seamless. We were given facts and we agreed with the facts. That is all. Because what was presented to us wasn't even up to 71. And we argued and agreed that let it be 71,000. We have the conviction and belief that it is better for us to take 71,000 naira and for the state to continue going than insist on what will cause delay in payment of salaries. So, we had never witnessed any delay in payment or having issues with the payment. And government is being realistic. The government is showing the passion for workers. Why I said we are a little bit guilty is, and we have to at least concede to 71,000.
Okay. So
within 9 months,
to you, Mr.
11 billion naira. Yes.
I'll come back to you, Mr. Inuwa, but I'm told we're now being joined yet again by Mr. Ogbonnaya Okoro, NLC State Chairperson for Abia State. Mr. Okoro, thank you for coming through. I asked earlier about the disagreement over 70,000 naira initial figure proposed by the government. Tell us how that played out and what informed the figure that State Congress has now agreed with the state government. All right, we'll return to Mr. Inuwa from Kano State. Mr. Inuwa, give us a sense of the implication of this 71,000 naira for consequential adjustment for the other cadres of workers in the state civil service.
Well, the consequential adjustment, we looked into it, agreed and signed on all the templates, salary templates. The way we did it is level 1, I think was 127.5% increment. Level 2, 110. Then the level 7, 17, 35%. That is how we put it. There is a significant increase on the salaries, and we are sincerely contented to it. That is how we put it on percentage based on the previous salary template of 30,000 minimum wage. Although Kano was paying 30,600.
Just one more question so we can wrap this up. I wanted to find out from you, so that we're on record, besides the salary, because you mentioned it in passing, so I want to piggyback on it. A lot will take your salaries, from feeding to housing to hospital to school fees to transportation. What other thing that are you asking the Abba Yusuf government to quickly do to make 71,000 naira meaningful? Because it may end up being meaningless if certain things are not done to help you have take home, as we like to call it, and really should take you home.
Well, what we are trying to do within the week is we want to ask for task relief. The payee, we want to have a waiver, at least, or reduction in the payee. We are sure if the payee will be reduced or it can be waived for some period of time, workers will have some relief on that. Then on transportation, we want to encourage the government to get involved in the CNG powered vehicles, whereby at least, even if it were the school children and workers, that those vehicles will be conveying to their various schools and places of work, it will bring some relief to the workers, because workers equally give their children money to go to school. You will find it difficult if your child is at least 10 kilometers away from the secondary or university he's going. Minimum you can give him a day is 2,500 for his transportation, which before it was only 500 or 1,000. We are sure if he can come into this tax relief and provision of CNG buses that will reduce the cost of transportation fare, we are sure it will affect the civil servants, and we will definitely enjoy that relief.
The state government has taken note of all these important high points that you have spoken to, particularly with regards to what can be done to make life a little easier for civil servants in the state. And speaking of the payee, of course, there's a component in the tax reform bills conversation that we've been having about a recommendation for the reduction of income tax. And of course, we hope that that will also be critical to conversations between Labour and state governments across board as it continues on minimum wage implementation. We'll want to thank you very much, Mr. Kabiru Inowa, the state chairman for the Nigeria Labour Congress in Kano State. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here with you.
And from here, we'll switch to, as we say, the softer side of things after this time out to look at the art and business side of comedy. Stay with us, we'll be right back.